Welcome to the 325th episode of the Jami Dulaney Plant-Based Wellness Podcast. My name is Jami Dulaney, and I'm your host. I'm a plant-based cardiologist and endurance runner living in Southwest Florida. When I say endurance runner, I'm not really living up to the expectations of my guests today. I do endurance events, marathons. My longest ultra has been 50K, run swims, Ironman races. But my guest today just completed a 354-mile run in 85 hours to win the Big's Backyard international championship, I should say. So it's going to be quite an honor for me to have Harvey Lewis III. I think you're really going to enjoy my interview with him. I was quite amazed. We watched the live streaming of Big's Backyard over the 4-day event, and we would go for a run, come back in, refresh the computer, go have some lunch, refresh the computer, have dinner, refresh the computer, get up, do yard work, do everything, go to work, refresh the computer, and Harvey was still running. And it got down to the last several loops with 3 people. This is a last man standing race. So 4.1-mile loops over and over and over again until everybody says uncle. And then the last guy has to complete a loop. So he's quite the accomplished ultra runner. He's also a teacher. He has won the Badwater Ultra Marathon, which is a 135-mile race in Death Valley twice. He has run it 10 times. He has run every Flying Pig marathon. He is on the national ultra team for USA. He's won numerous other events. And best of all, he's plant-based. So he believes in eating healthy. And actually, the second place finisher was also plant-based. But Harvey has been plant-based since the 1990s. He tries to eat pretty healthy. Obviously, during ultras, there's a fair amount of simple carbohydrates that go in because you need energy quickly. But we talk about what he ate during this 4-day event. We talk about some of the things that he does eat. He also has a documentary that I'll put a link to in the show notes. He ran the entire Appalachian Trail in 49 days, and he was crewed by his father. And the name of the documentary is Harvey Like Son. He is actually Harvey Lewis III. It is a great documentary. Even if you don't like ultra running, the scenery of the Appalachian Trail is beautiful. The story of him and his father is beautiful. And I just think you'll really like it. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Harvey Lewis III in our interview. Enjoy, as I did. I'd like to welcome Harvey Lewis III to the podcast, and a lot of the listeners know, I put it on Facebook, that I was going to have you. I'm so excited. Harvey, first of all, congratulations on Big's Backyard Ultra. I watched all weekend and through the finish, and what I have to say was most amazing was that you came across the finish line, and you stood there and talked to Laz like you were just talking to your neighbor across the street. You did not look like you were up for 4 hours and had run, yes, 354 miles in 85 hours. So, wow. And with a broken hand, I might add. So,
but Jami, thank you so much. Honestly, it's an honor to be here with you, and I'm just so happy about what you're doing with your own practice. And thank you. That was some experience with Laz for sure.
Well, we started following you. We watched the international race last year, on the online feed, and we started watching this year, and we kept refreshing the computer. My boyfriend and I are runners, marathoners, triathletes. We've done our maximum 50K, so a bare baby ultra in your books. But nevertheless, we kept refreshing, and then all of a sudden noted that you're plant-based, and it's like, oh my goodness. He's got to win, and I've got to have him on the podcast. And then I started stalking you. I'm sorry. And I found out you're from Wheeling, West Virginia, originally, and spent some time. So we're related in that way too.
It's wild.
And plant-based. So it's like, it was so exciting. So for the listeners, most people aren't going to believe what I just said. So tell us about Big's Backyard and how you come to you. This is, well, your running career is extensive. Let me just say you've run 10 Badwater ultras, and you've won it twice. You won the 2014, and you won it just in this year, the 10th one, or the last running of. And that was how long ago?
That was this July 16th, 17th. So I guess was that like, I'm losing track of the time. So 4 or 5 months ago.
Not very long. Let's put it that way. Not very long. So 135-mile race in July, and you turn around, and here comes Big's Backyard. How did you get the invitation for that?
Well, this race was like the world championship. So what they did is they took, you could get a golden ticket, so to speak, if you won one of the championship races, or you could have qualified by hitting a certain higher mileage mark. And then our Courtney Dualder and I from last year, we did 78 and 77 laps combined, or each. And so that put us right at the top for the getting into this race. And so, I was excited. This was from my A races from the start of the year.
Wow. And, I heard you say pretty much you were in it for as long as it's going to last. And, to get ahead of the story, with 20 miles to go, you had a trip and fall, and you broke your 4th metacarpal, and you kept going. Not that, a mere finger fracture would, cause you.
Well, it's my first experience with breaking a bone in my hand. Normally I do fall down on trails and or on the road, and usually it's when I'm kind of looking off to the side and not paying attention, and it's on the smoothest trail you ever did dream of, and I'll certainly fall. But I'm really pretty good at falling. So I've fallen so many times. I'm really good at rolling. But that loop, I was really dehydrated. It was after 300 miles plus, and when I went down on the rocks, I didn't have any energy to capture the fall or to roll with it or embrace it. So I just went straight down on that bone, and I knew that I had done something to it, but I also knew it wasn't a vital area to run. So it wasn't going to stop me either.
Incredible. The only thing you said at the end, and I don't know, I mean, you look fresh as a daisy, but you said, you don't want to shake Laz's hand with your right hand because that hurt. That was the only thing. So other than that, you can stand and talk. And I think his wife said, would you want to sit down? You just stood there and talked. And it's I just couldn't believe it. So, there's so many, I am such a fan. There's so many questions that I want to ask. First of all, I'd like to tell everyone, and we'll make show links. You have a documentary out with your father about, you ran the Appalachian Trail and it took you 49 days, and he was your crew, and it's called Harvey Like Son.
Yes.
And that was a wonderful, wonderful movie. Your father's an amazing guy. You have an amazing relationship. It was just really fun. I have to tell you a funny story about that, though, because when I was Googling how to watch Harvey Like Son, somehow I stopped paying attention, and I put Father Like Son. And so I had the movie all queued up Sunday night, and we start watching it, and it was this Japanese guy. And I kept thinking, well, maybe that's the intro. It's weird, but maybe that's the intro. And finally, it's no, I don't think that's the right movie. It wasn't near as good as yours. Let me tell you that. Japanese.
That's awesome. Well, that's pretty neat.
But Appalachian, it was beautiful photography. I mean, the story's beautiful. 49 days on the Appalachian Trail, and then 4 days later, you ran Badwater then?
Yeah, it was, I guess about 4 or 5 days later, I ran Badwater.
So Harvey, So, Harvey, how do you recover? I mean, I saw you sit down and you didn't even really have the ease yourself down. You just, you just seem to, I mean, how do you do this? Are you sore? Do you have pain fibers? Are you one of these guys that you can hit yourself in the head with a hammer and you don't feel it? Tell me about it.
Oh, no. I do recover really fairly quickly. I mean, and that is part of the benefit of the plant-based foods. Like, for example, after I did Badwater, I ended up doing a 24-hour race, fans, and then I ran the Superior 100 race 13 days after that. And then I had 5 weeks between that and Big's Backyard. So, like, capitalizing on the quick recovery time of like the foods that have like low inflammation, it's just remarkable. I mean, because we've been really conditioned through the culture growing up that, you have to drink milk or eat dairy or eat lots of meat in order to like be strong and healthy. But when in fact your body like actually recuperates even faster with plant-based foods, it just is mind-boggling. So, I really am just always amazed that I'm able to recover rather quickly by flushing out the negative things in my body by eating, good quality foods after the race. During the race, I'm eating a lot of, unhealthy vegan foods, but you're just trying to get a lot of calories during the midst of the race. And it's not all unhealthy stuff. I mean, I do have, a lot of soups and things with like lentils and different like, healthy items as well. But like, you're also consuming a lot of like sugar and things during the race that you wouldn't normally do on a day-to-day basis. It's kind of remarkable how fast the body can recover. Right now, it's been about 8 days since I ran or finished running the Backyard Ultra. And this last weekend, I did a 5-mile run race on Saturday. It was nothing fast, but it was just kind of nice to get out there and to feel like I could run a lot faster if I wanted to, but to just kind of nicely run and enjoy the course. And then this weekend, I'll be running the Flying Pig Marathon. So that will be only a matter of like, I guess, maybe 11 or 12 days after Biggs. So it's kind of a, quick turnaround. Like I'm not running a fast time, but it's nice to know that like I don't have any type of knee issues or other type of like injuries or anything pulling at me. Taking good care of my body, eating well is powerful.
And this will be you've run the Flying Pig, I think, since what, 1990? Have you run all of them, right?
All of them since 1991.
91, wow.
Yeah, 91. Oh, 99. I'm sorry.
99.
I've been running marathons since 1991.
1991.
So, my marathons go back 30 years, but the Flying Pig goes back 23 years.
I know you're also on a running streak that you run at least a mile for the last 6.5 years. And you said you run to and from school.
Yeah.
You're a school teacher by your day job, so to speak.
Yeah. My run streak is actually 2 years now. I had almost 5 years. And then at the 24-hour world championship, I really did a number on my Achilles. So I took about 5 days off. And then I started back up again. So it's been about 2 years. But I do have a streak of commuting back and forth to work every day under human power. Usually it's running, but occasionally I might cycle once in a blue moon or kayak to work. But the running to work back and forth is really nice because it's not a far distance. It's just 3 miles each way. So it's enough to just get your body up and going, woken, and it's not overly taxing, but it's also really nice to add into the daily regimen.
So is most of your training racing?
No. I would say very little of my training is racing. Getting ready for Badwater, I certainly benefited by doing Laz's strolling gym race. That was like a 42-mile race.
Okay.
That had lots of hills. I also benefited by doing a couple marathons. One in Alaska where I ran into a mama bear, and another one in London, Ohio, which, just kind of getting the, it helps to run races because it kind of puts you in that mindset. It enables you to go into a deeper places of difficulty, and if I didn't have experience running races, it'd probably be harder to put myself into areas of discomfort, as deep of areas of discomfort. So that experience helps a little bit.
So this particular race, Big's Backyard, it's a last man standing race. So 4.1.
Or woman. Yeah,
or woman. Yes, or woman.
Last year, Courtney was the final survivor, and the year before that was Maggie.
So yes, you're right. Laz, he makes. There's no gender bias with Laz. He's willing to hurt anybody.
That's right. Equal.
Equal opportunity for pain. So 4.1 mile, you get an hour to finish a loop. Then you have to toe the starting line again, and at the end you have to run once you're the last guy, do you have to complete that last loop?
Yes. So if no one completes the last loop, then no one wins the race. It's like the Barkley. And the Bigs race wins. Nobody wins. So that was also in my mind because, as we were pushing into new territory, no one had ever survived 300 miles on the course. And then no one had ever survived 300 miles and then run a daytime loop. So, it was always on my mind, well, geez, what would happen if all three of us don't make a loop? So it's like you want to, we're always pushing to make it. But, it could happen possibly that you have no one win because everyone goes out on the same loop. It got down to the point where you're running with two other people, but that last loop, you're all alone. And it's somewhat of a victory lap, but it's also 350 miles into it. What was going through your mind at that point? Was your mind working at all, or your feet just the only thing going? What do you think about? Don't fall down. Night really settled into something after the third night. I had gotten to some sort of special euphoric peak, and I got into this mode where my mind and my body and spirit, they had gone through this incredible wrestling match, and the body had submitted to the spirit, and it just was okay, we're just gonna go whatever you ask of us. So that fourth night, I felt like I could just keep on going. I wasn't even really thinking about it. There was no thought about, well, do you do this or not? It's just do it. So I kind of got into that mode. But coming back, I knew that I didn't see Chris, so I this could be it. So I was definitely I wanted to hoot and holler and excitement, thank everything. But also I knew I had to be conscientious to finish the lap, because you could make a mistake, just something ridiculous. You could trip on I did trip the second night and I fell on the ground. It was no big deal. But something like that, you could pull a muscle. It's something so little, it's so minor. You have to be careful though. Any type, especially after you've been running for 4 days, you have to just be okay, I want to make sure I don't do anything stupid. Just, finish and be respectful. That's what I was trying to be respectful. I knew that both Chris and the Japanese runner, they both did incredible races, and I couldn't have gone as far as I did without them.
For this is incredible amount of pushing that you do your body. I run a marathon. I always say that marathons are a lot like life. You have highs and lows, and nothing ever goes 100% right. And so you've got to troubleshoot for the most part. And I guess the longest thing I've done is an Ironman, and you troubleshoot for 14 hours. But It's a different thing, but it's still, to me, it's a lot like life. But you're running these day races. You're going through the night. You're sleep deprived. You're well beyond anybody's average life experience. So what's your why? Why do this to yourself?
That's great. Well, honestly, the why factors are really important. So I have a lot of whys, and I try not to make it just. I try to make it about something bigger than myself. So that's the why is a huge factor. But for sure, one of my big ones is to reach more people, to impact people's quality of life, to make people aware of the benefits of eating plant-based, and also what you can do with the power of the mind, where you can go. That we have these. We have personal limitations we create for ourselves, but we can achieve just tremendous things with the determination and strategy, the mind. So those are things that go through my mind. I also think about in people in my life, my students. I think about my fiance. I think about my my dad, my mother, grandparents, ancestors. I think about friends in other countries that are in very difficult circumstances. Like my friend David, who's in Haiti. He talks to me back and forth and the challenges he's going through right now. Or my friend in Ghana and Saidi. So I think about those individuals. And so running another lap, it doesn't seem so difficult when I think about some of the other challenges people are enduring.
Very, very nice. I have to, I was speaking with you a little bit before we started recording. There is a professor at Duke University that studies metabolism and energy expenditure. And he cites some research on endurance athletes that what really stops people from an endurance athlete, like say a Tour de France or even an ultra, is at some point your ability to absorb enough calories to sustain your body will ultimately cease. And will stop you, will slow you down. Obviously, if you're running, marathon type speed, you're burning a lot more carbohydrate than ultra type speed. But nevertheless, you're still in constant locomotion, and the ability to absorb calories is somewhat limited. You said you got lentils in. We saw hummus. We saw some chips. We saw do you still do your jet fuel Coca-Cola?
Oh yeah. I mean, Tailwind. I had this coconut water I'm drinking right now. I had different types of soda, but I also had fruits, blueberries, mangoes, really, I mean, every lap I was eating something.
Do you do dried fruit at all?
Yeah, I had dry fruit. I got this nice big giant box of it at Costco. So I would take a couple strips of that with me when I was, on the loops, only when I was going up the hill. I'd eat a couple strips of dry fruit. So, I mean, honestly, I was really eating nonstop. I don't remember an hour where I didn't eat. And I also eat a lot of the squeezable fruits. So that was really nice too.
So he talks, he also looks at, for a lean body weight, your daily energy expenditure is, you can pretty much plot it, give or take 300-400 calories, which is a pretty big swing, but not that big a swing when you look at what you were doing. So I plotted you, and I probably overestimated your weight, but I looked at about, 160 pounds. Probably. Yeah. So see, I can work at a circus, right? I saw you and I guessed your weight.
Good job.
And I always pride myself on that, by the way. Anyway,
That's very good.
So that's about a daily energy expenditure of about 3,000 calories plus or minus 400 or 500 calories. That's for a human a human man at 160 pounds. That's someplace around what your metabolic energy expenditure would be for most of the time. Yeah. So then I looked at, if you're running, you probably burn about 120 calories per mile, give or take a few.
In my daily calorie intake is about 3,600 calories a day.
Yeah, so that's pretty close. Yeah,
pretty close. You're not far off there. Yeah. So and I did that after like several days studying myself. Where I just tracked my calorie intake, and it was right up around 3,600.
Okay. So if we looked at burning about 120 calories a mile, typical run pace, that's pretty close, and you ran 354 miles, then that calculates out to be 42,480 calories that you burned.
42,000?
42,480 calories. And if you were running up, that's it, burning 120 a mile, roughly.
So that's about, it's about 11 or 12,000 a day.
About 500 calories an hour. So
that's 500 calories an hour. Yeah, that's okay. That's pretty doable.
So you think you can get 500 in?
Yeah, there were some laps I was getting 500 in. There were some laps I was probably getting like 350 in.
Okay, so you can absorb a lot then. You can take in a lot of calories.
Yeah, like there's these Abe's cupcakes, or not cupcakes, muffins from again from the grocery store. They have like 250 calories, and they're like these little tiny cupcakes or muffins. So I just I ate a bunch of those. But I mean, I would even like the tailwinds probably, if I take a ball or two of tailwind, that's like 200 calories, and I get some other types of food in each lap. I think that I'm probably getting 300, maybe the worst lap, maybe 200 calories, but more often than not, 300 calories, and sometimes 500 more calories an hour.
Okay, so that's
I am getting a little deficit.
Yeah, a little deficit, but not as much as I was suspecting. A lot of the Ironman data, people are going a little faster maybe, but 250 calories an hour, once your heart rate's up, it's pretty hard to absorb at some point.
Yeah.
But so
that's one of my specialties. So the thing is with ultra running, I've probably come up with about 12 categories that people really could utilize to excel in. And one of the 12 would be eating and running, eat and run. Mm-hmm. And so for tonight, for example, when I had the appointment after with the orthopedic with respect to my hand, I went to Chipotle and I got a giant burrito. It's probably about 650 calories, beans and rice, the guacamole, pinto, black beans. And I just ate that super fast. I mean, like a gorilla. It just eat that so fast. And then I take off and run home. So it doesn't bother my stomach. If I was doing a mile time trial, it'd probably get me a little bit, perhaps. But I don't even know. Maybe a marathon, it might not. If I'm running a very solid pace in the marathon, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's kind of one of the things that I've trained myself over the years to be able to eat and run. And other things can upset this, if you're dehydrated or if it's hot out, that makes it harder to do for sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's an interesting set of numbers you got.
Yeah, because when I looked at it, because I went along the lines that you probably couldn't get that much in, and so you're taking, obviously you're taking more carbohydrate than fat, So you would have to make up the deficit by burning some of your own fat, which you do. You know, if you're running a slower pace, you're burning some fat and some carbohydrate. Obviously, your metabolism is more aerobic at that point. But so I estimated that you would have probably lost about 6 pounds during that race. Did you lose weight?
I did lose a little weight. Yep. And you might be, I should have weighed myself immediately after the race because I know I lost some weight, but I lost some weight. It could be somewhere from 4 to 6 pounds. I don't think it was more than 6 or 7 pounds. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was it had to be at least 2 or 3 pounds or more. Mm-hmm. So you're probably right in the ballpark, to be honest with you.
So, you know, and you look around in recovery, and now that makes me, as we talk, it's like, well, okay, I can see how you recover better. Not only are you eating anti-inflammatory foods, but because you're able to take in, you're not depleting your body so much. You're not draining all the tanks, mm-hmm. to the point where you have so acidic that you're, yes. I think a lot of times when people run a marathon, you're in caloric deficit. You deplete your glycogen stores completely. Mm-hmm. And I think that then you're burning fat, and I think that probably leads to a lot more muscle discomfort than being able to take those calories in.
That's a good point.
But again, I think again, like you said, it's the kind of calories that you take in. I spoke with a guy that has a podcast. You may have met him along the way. Ashland Dave, running in the center of the universe, but he's had some buddies that have had heart attacks in their 40s that were marathon runners. But again, you see it all the time when people are eating the standard American diet and running, and they're on the thin side because they're burning calories, but they're eating such inflammatory food. Yes. That they end up having inflammation in their arteries, and then, things happen and everybody's surprised. It's like, oh, he was a runner. I can't believe it happened. But the reality of it is, it's hard on the body. So I think, again, what you do is such a good message, that I wanted to get it out there. It's like, here's this ultra runner. And, you said you started out as a chubby kid. Your picture on the documentary, you did not look like a runner when you were in high school. No way. And now you look like, an Olympic runner. You just, you're very fit, and you're just everything you would expect out of an ultra runner. But you don't look gaunt. You don't look like a pasty vegan that, is just near death either. So I think that, that is the great thing to get out there to people, is like, you can, there's longevity in this sport if you eat correctly.
Right.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, it blows my mind.
I'm hoping.
It's great that you're in the Midwest and you're getting this message out, because, it's really counterculture in especially a lot of areas in rural Ohio where my fiance lives. We're seeing more and more people becoming aware of like plant-based milk alternatives and other options, and just that people may have like an assumption that there's something not exciting about it. But honestly, I eat like a king. It's like an adventure, and I love it every day. There's so many different options. It's exciting. So yeah, it's and you're right. Like, just there's the nutrition, and it has such an impact on the inflammation, and there's so many options available.
All right. My question, what worries me? I'm going to do my first 50 miler in February. We have a swim run next weekend.
Swim run. That should be exciting.
Yeah, we did. That'll be our second year up in Austin doing that.
Yes.
And so then we're going to do a marathon in CIM, and then we'll do a 25K, but then a 50 miler in February, the Hoka Rocky in Texas. So I'm worried about my toenails.
Oh, man. Well, I can't say too much about toenails now.
Do you have any?
Well, my toenails are not very pretty. My fiance says, like, please put your shoes on. My stepdaughter gets freaked out about toes. But yeah, my toenails look a little beat up. Yeah, it's but man, that's great. You're gonna love it.
Well, I mean, that's and I have to say, man, Newtons. I wore Newtons early on in a marathon, and I kind of hit funny. I always wore the outer lug out of my Newtons.
Yeah.
And for anybody out there that wears, looks at running shoes, Newtons have lugs like the main treads are in the forefoot, and there's not much in the back, so you're made to run on your forefoot. I mean, that's what we're supposed to hit for the most part, but you can't really hit on your heel at all.
Yeah, you land on your midsole and you go off on the front. But it really is very efficient in terms of your energy usage. And if you look at like my form is the very same at the start of a race as it is at the end of the race.
Yes, it was.
And like you can say that for very few shoes you could say that about. And Newtons are like a little hidden gem. They're a small company. They don't have the marketing dollars of the big names, but they're incredibly awesome shoes. And they have like a patent on the technology. They just really efficient. I've not injured myself at all. Had major injuries thanks to wearing them over the last 10 years.
Yeah, but, I was surprised on the trails. It's like, wow. Because, a lot of people, as they fatigue, then their gait changes and they start. I mean, I've seen people that run in the, I'm not putting the Nike shoe down at all, the carbon, the sole, but it seems like if your form is not really good, I see a lot of people that by the end, they're running on the inside of those shoes and it looks like there's an injury waiting to happen. And so I thought, man, your Achilles, your form is good, but it's forcing. Yeah. But I was impressed with the Newtons. It's like, wow, and Newtons on top.
Oh yeah, they're amazing shoes, and they make their shoes from recycled materials.
Oh, cool.
So they're quite impressive. And great colors, great designs.
Yeah, they've always. That's why I really liked them, because they had really neat colors. I like them because a lot of the shoes, and it's like, wow. But I just kind of got frustrated because I would wear the outside lug out, and it's like, well, what do I do about that? And it just seems like whatever I do, I kind of hit that way, and that's kind of how what steered me away from them a little bit. So, of course, your dad, it was pretty funny in the documentary. He was worried about your junk food, your junk food intake. That was
right.
Oh, I know.
He's probably come around a long ways. Now he's vegan 90% of the time.
Nice.
So it's funny. You give me all a hard time about being vegan, but now he eats vegan most of the time.
You could tell he was coming around to it. Even it seemed like during the dinner. You wear calf sleeves on your calves.
Yes.
Do you find that helps with swelling of your lower leg with these long things?
I don't wear those in every single race I do, but I wear them in races where I have a lot of like up and down climbing. I think if you go across the 4 days, we probably did more than like the height of Mount Everest in terms of like our total elevation climbing. And I just find that it helps to perhaps like limit the vibrations a little bit on your calves. So like the 2XU calf sleeves, I do really like them. And I also will alternate. I'll wear the 2XU compression shorts. It just kind of helps to hold your muscles together as you're going up and down the hills again and again a million times. But I also alternate with the short shorts, just because then I don't seem to have any chafing whatsoever. But yeah, I do like it a lot.
So you got it dialed in. So toenails you can't help me out with. They're just going to come and go.
And
how about blisters? So did you get blisters under your toenails during this race? I mean, any foot issues?
I didn't. No. That was real nice. I had a couple really small little blisters that were like totally nothing. And I think I lost like a toenail. Like that's not a big deal. I mean, I lose toenails all the time. So, I mean, there was no big issue. I used the squirrel nut butter on my feet, and then I put socks on, and I have my Newtons. The Newtons, I love them. So, I mean, they worked wonders.
All right. Well, you know what? If you can wear something that long and you bring your feet come out the other side, because I've seen people duct tape their feet and blister
Right.
god awful things. So
yeah, I mean, I can show you my feet, but there's really nothing exciting to see about them.
I'm impressed. It's like that really, because I tend to, my second toenail tends to give me issues, and it's like, man, and I'm like you, I don't mind amputating it afterwards. It's during that I don't want to have to deal with the toenail. So that's amazing. So more power to you. What's the flying
Keeping
pig
the socks dry is really important. Especially like when it gets hot during the daytime, is like keeping the socks dry. That's pretty important. Like when you start to get your feet really wet, and then it really impacts the blisters. So I learned that from running Badwater. It's like, because Badwater, you have the ice bandanas and you got constant water is like kind of flowing down your neck. So if you get the water like in your shoes, it's really challenging. So just try and keep your socks dry as much as possible. And that, even in the race, if I take an extra 3 seconds crossing a creek or something like that, I don't think anything of it, just because I'd rather keep my feet dry and take an extra 3 seconds than like just blitz across something, like not thinking about it. Because that keeping your feet dry is worth like minutes and minutes of time.
So it sounds like the Barclays in your future.
Oh yeah, now I'm gonna get real wet.
Well, we'll be rooting for you, that's for sure. So
Thank you.
Learning to eat when you run. One other tidbit as far as successful ultra, what would you say to somebody that, it's like this is going to be a deal breaker for you?
Well, pacing is real important. Like, pacing yourself is really important. Like, and a lot of times people want to run too fast. Like, so it's the fastest you could humanly be is if you actually had a very similar second half time to your first half time. And very few people can do that. So most people end up like putting like 60 or more % of their energy into the first half of the race and less than 40% of their energy in the second half of the race. But they don't have any energy left because they went too fast in the first half. So if you can pace yourself, then that's super powerful. And you can pace yourself by incorporating some walking. It's nice too.
I've been doing, like a 2:30 for a marathon training. I've never actually run a marathon doing that. I've done the Ironman races. But I'm contemplating trying to do that to see if I can run. I'm anxious to see if I could run CIM at the same speed by doing a walk break as opposed to straight through.
Right.
We'll see. So Quest Travel, is that a business for you?
Yes. Yeah. I take people on running holidays in the summertime.
Okay.
To Portugal.
Nice.
We've been doing it since 2014, and it's really a magical experience. I mean, we go to the highlights of the country. We have the best guides. We have amazing hotels we stay in. We stay in a 13th century monastery hotel. It's like a castle, like something out of fairy tale. And we eat like kings and queens every day. It's really like a food vacation.
So is it plant-based, or you just get plant-based meal?
I get plant-based. We have a variety. So we have, maybe half the guests or third of guests eat plant-based, and others they eat what they're conditioned or traditionally eaten. And so it's available for people, but it's not like an only plant-based type trip. So we just kind of meet people where they're at.
Nice. Yep, that's exactly what we do. We like to meet people where they are and share our experience. And if they want to join in, then we do it with open arms.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Harvey, I can't thank you enough for taking time to speak with me so soon after that big race and before the Flying Pig. Flying Pig's on my radar, too. I want to do that because that's a great medal.
That's great. Now, maybe another idea. I could walk through some of the food I ate on the journey.
Oh, absolutely.
Since people are like following their plant-based and they're kind of wondering, what was he eating while he was out there?
Yes,
I haven't shared with anyone yet. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So while we've been sitting here talking, I did have some olives, and actually I did eat olives. These pearl pitted dark black olives. They're really nice because of the sodium. So they don't have a lot of calories. There's like 35 calories, but they have really good sodium, which is what you're really thinking about too. And then I got some of this baby food.
I saw that.
Peter Rabbit Organics. And this is apple, carrot, and pumpkin. It's 70 calories. So I could take that out on a loop with me. And I wouldn't want to eat where I was running because you don't want to choke and die. But you can eat when you're going up the hill walking. Most of the time, that's pretty safe, as long as you're not chewing on like some gumdrops or something like that. Okay, then I had, this is really nice. This is, I got from Costco. They have this chocolate banana almond non-dairy beverage. And this has 120 calories. And it is also has 50% of your vitamin B12, and it has 10 grams of protein. And it's easy to drink, very fast, efficient fuel. Yeah, so that was really nice. And then I got a lot of these Annie Chuns. They have like these soups you can get. I wouldn't say it's like the most healthiest thing because, it's like made from, it's made from a box. I mean, you got a box of stuff that warm up here. So, I mean, if you're at home and you can make something with fresh vegetables and things like that, that's fantastic. But if you're out there in the wild or you're out there doing a race and you just want to add hot water, this is phenomenal. So this one package has 260 calories, has 7 grams of protein, has 33% of your sodium for one day, all in this, and you can eat this relatively fast. It maybe take me about 2 minutes to eat that whole package right there. So that's nice. Then I got different types of chips. I got plantain chips. Just like the variety of chips was nice. Pretzels, Tailwind. So I had like all different types of Tailwind. And I didn't drink any caffeinated Tailwind until like the second night because I didn't want to like mess with I wanted to be going through the first night with no caffeine. I know they said at the end of the race that I took caffeine, which could have been misinterpreted. Like what I meant by that is I took it in the sense of like taking in by drinking Tailwind or Coca-Cola. Because a couple of people said, I never take caffeine pills in my lifetime. Like that would not be a good idea. But this Tailwind, there's 100 calories in a single scoop. And oftentimes I feel like I'll put 2 scoops in my drink. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of, that's 200 calories right there, depending on what you're having. So that was really nice. I don't know if I have, I also would have, I got this. I brought so much food you wouldn't believe it. But seaweed. I actually like seaweed, and there's not a lot of calories in seaweed. Like just, but there is a ton of sodium. So again, that's really nice. And I would do like Amy's soups. They're really simple. So like here's one: lentils, 310 or 40 calories. Like just that can of soup, I can eat that in less than 2 minutes. And also mashed potatoes, vegan mashed potatoes, and vegetable broth. So it's another great source of carbohydrates and sodium. Macaroni and cheese, like they have all these vegan mac and cheese, like that's 540 calories per package. Bam. So I mean, that's just a little like tidbit of what I had. When my friend Judd and I were headed there, it looked like we were moving into Laz's property. So like that's just like leftover, and this only represents about probably 15% of the food I had. like I had so much food, it was unbelievable.
Well,
So
yeah, I mean, yeah, well, you about 42,000 calories worth.
right, exactly. So I mean, it would be interesting to have someone there calculating as we're going how many calories we're consuming per hour, and that would be fascinating. But I don't know how Laz would feel about that.
Now, do you think, was there another plant-based runner there or no?
Yeah, as far as I understand, the number 2 guy was Chris Roberts.
Okay.
Yeah, so we haven't had a chance to talk yet about it, but I believe he was.
Okay. All right. Good. So, more and more, I mean, obviously Scott Jurek is plant-based, and, so there are more and more runners that are plant-based. It's just, there's an equal number that aren't so healthy, I guess. And, I mean, we always talk about, you can live for a long time on terrible food. It's surviving and thriving and having longevity in the sport, I think is really comes down to, that what you take nutritionally in. And I guess the last question I'm going to ask, you do a lot of mobility, or you're just a Gumby kind of guy and you don't?
I'm like the least flexible person on the planet. But other than that, I do try. Okay. So yeah, I have, I work with a personal trainer now, like once a week, and he's a former ballet member of Cincinnati Ballet. And so he says I'm the least flexible person. And also Mr. Miyagi says I'm the least flexible person. So I'm probably the least flexible person in Cincinnati. But I do practice a couple things that are kind of odd. Like I balance on one foot on each side while I'm flossing in the morning. And I'll do things like stretching while I'm at work teaching. So I do try these things, but I'm not very strong in them, but I still do them nevertheless.
That's great. The least flexible. I had an injury once, and I had the pleasure of one of my parents' friends was the trainer for the Buffalo Bills, and so he was in town, and he was taking me through some stretches, and he's like, man, he said, it's like a tube, it's like, and it's like, well, wait a minute, I'm not 20. But, I think the older I get, the more I have to do these things. I tend to I've thrown my back out a few times. So I am a mobility, I'm a believer.
I do too. I love that. I like the yoga. I'm just, I'm still working at it. I'm very much at a novice level.
Well, you're doing fabulous. So, it's working for you. Well, listen, I know you've got about 10,000 more calories to probably get in before you go to bed. So,
you see me, I've not stopped eating the whole time we've been here. You're probably like annoyed, Harvey. Why are you still eating on this?
Starting. No, I love it. It's really good. And he's, I mean, it's just not going to be video, but he's eating healthy things here while I'm sitting. He's not putting down the birthday cake or an ice cream cake or anything. It's all
some amazing olives right now.
All right. Well, I will be watching you for the Flying Pig. Good luck. And I'm going to put this invitation out March 25th. If you want to join us in Stuart, Florida to do the Treasure Coast Marathon, we'll be here. So you never know.
That's exciting. Thank you so much, Amy, for having me on. And thank you for all the work you're doing.
All right. It's a pleasure. Keep at it. All right. Good night.
Good night.
What a gem, right? And how amazing to just do a over 100-mile or over 300-mile race and turn around and recover completely. And I think that is the beauty of plant-based nutrition. Harvey pays good attention to recovery through nutrition to help his body to decrease inflammation. So I hope you took away a lot of gems from that. I hope you took away the possibility to run and run long. Again, if you'd like to join us, March 25th in Stuart, Florida for the Treasure Coast Marathon. I'm going to have a group down there running. We'd love to see as many people as we possibly could. I put links to some of the races that Harvey has run. It's always fun to go to some of these ultras and volunteer. So if you have any interest in doing some of those, you can look them up. If you'd like to speak to us about plant-based nutrition, running, ultras, anything else, email me at jami@drdulaney.com, JAMI@drdulaney.com, if you want to find out what we do in our practice and how you can become a member regardless of where you live. Go to drdulaney.com, DOCTORDULANEY.com, and check it out. We have a members-only website with lots of recipes, mobility, strength training. We help people achieve their endurance dreams with training programs, strength training, as well as plant-based nutrition education. We do a Zoom nutrition class every week where I cook something and do a PowerPoint lecture. We also do quarterly webinars with Addie Delaney-Meinerich, our registered dietitian. So check out what we have to offer. If you have any questions, we'd be glad to do a free consultation with you about the practice. We do keep the practice small so that I have plenty of time to spend with each of the members, and they have my cell phone in their pocket if they need me. So if you're interested in something like that, give us a call, give us an email. Thank you again for listening. Again, I learned a lot from Harvey. He's a great guy. Check out that documentary. It's great as well. And I'll see you next week. Thanks a lot.